Unfinished healing, the power of moving forward while still broken. Have you ever felt like you're supposed to have it all together? Like you're supposed to be healed, whole, and thriving yesterday? As if there's some invisible timeline for recovery that you've somehow fallen behind on. I recently had the profound privilege of interviewing Nicole Bowe, a transformational healer and advocate whose work has literally saved lives. Nicole has dedicated her career to supporting Black professionals through their healing journeys, creating ripples of transformation that extend far beyond individual therapy sessions. Her methodology for turning pain into purpose isn't just effective, it's revolutionary. In our conversation, she shattered conventional wisdom about healing in ways that I'm still processing weeks later. The truth Nicole helped me see is both simple and radical. Healing isn't a destination, it's not a checkbox, it's not something you complete and then move on from, proudly displaying your I Survived Trauma merit badge while the credits roll on your personal recovery movie. Healing is messy, ongoing, non-linear, and perhaps most importantly, healing is possible even when it feels impossibly distant. I want to share three powerful truths from my conversation with Nicole Bowe that might just change how you think about your own journey. First, resilience isn't about being unbreakable. It's about continuing to move forward even while carrying your broken pieces. Second, you are never, ever alone in your struggles, even when isolation feels like your closest companion. And third, the very pain that threatens to define you can become the purpose that drives you. Let's start with this idea that resilience is a journey, not a destination. We've all heard those inspirational stories, right? The ones where someone experiences terrible trauma, has an epiphany, does some therapy, and emerges butterfly like into their best life. Those stories are incomplete at best. The reality is messier, especially for those navigating trauma related to identity, belonging, and systemic barriers. Nicole Bowe emphasized that healing doesn't mean the absence of pain, it means developing the capacity to carry that pain differently. Consider Nicole Handy, co founder of Braden Real Estate Group in Texas. As a Black woman in real estate, an industry not exactly known for its diversity and inclusion, Handy faced barriers that went beyond the typical entrepreneurial challenges: limited access to capital, systemic bias, the exhausting dance of code switching in predominantly white spaces. But what makes Handy's story remarkable isn't that she overcame these obstacles and never looked back. It's that she built one of the largest Black owned real estate brokerages in Texas while still navigating the ongoing impacts of these challenges. She didn't wait until she felt completely healed from every microaggression, every closed door, every moment of being underestimated. She moved forward anyway, transforming her experiences into a catalyst for change within her industry. Under her leadership, Braden Real Estate Group has become more than successful. It's become a model for what inclusive leadership can accomplish. Handy created mentorship programs specifically designed to support other Black professionals in real estate, understanding that her success meant little if it didn't create pathways for others. This is what resilience actually looks like: not the absence of struggle, but the determination to keep building, even while processing your own pain. The strength to say, I'm not finished healing, but I'm not finished living either. And that brings me to the second truth from my conversation with Nicole Bowe. You are not alone in your struggles. There's something particularly isolating about trauma. It has this way of convincing you that no one could possibly understand what you're going through. that your pain is uniquely yours, that your brokenness sets you apart. This isolation is especially acute for Black professionals and entrepreneurs who often navigate spaces where they're the only one or the first one. The pressure to appear perfectly composed, to never show vulnerability, can be crushing. Nicole Love Hendrickson knows this pressure intimately. As the first Black chair of Gwinnett County, Georgia, Hendrickson stepped into a role with no blueprint, no predecessors who shared her lived experience. The weight of being the first comes with unique challenges. There's the knowledge that your actions will be scrutinized not just as your own, but as representative of your entire community. There's the pressure to succeed not just for yourself, but for those who will come after you. There's the exhaustion of navigating systems that weren't designed with you in mind. But instead of allowing these pressures to isolate her, Hendrickson created spaces where others could find community and support. She established the Gwinnett Entrepreneur Center specifically to support local businesses and entrepreneurs from underrepresented backgrounds. She implemented the county's first equity action plan. She pushed for the recognition of Juneteenth and LGBTQ plus Pride Month. She transformed her understanding of systemic barriers into concrete policies that created space for others to thrive. This is what happens when we reject the isolation that trauma tries to impose on us. When we recognize that our struggles, while unique in their specifics, connect us to a broader community of people navigating their own healing journeys. As Nicole Bowe emphasized in our interview, sharing our stories, messy, unfinished, and real, creates connection. It reminds others they aren't alone. It transforms individual healing into collective empowerment, which brings me to the third and perhaps most powerful truth: you can turn your pain into purpose. This isn't about toxic positivity. It's not about finding the silver lining in trauma or suggesting that suffering happens for a reason. It's about the radical possibility of transforming your experiences, even the painful ones, into sources of empowerment, leadership, and inspiration for others. Consider Senator Nicole Mitchell, whose public testimony during her 2025 burglary trial revealed the complex interplay between grief, family trauma, and healing. Following her father's death, Mitchell found herself entangled in legal challenges and public scrutiny over family belongings and unresolved grief. What made Mitchell's testimony remarkable wasn't that she presented herself yet as perfectly healed or justified. It was her willingness to openly discuss her motivations and regrets, modeling vulnerability and resilience in a public forum where most would have retreated into defensive posturing. By sharing her story, complicated, messy, and unresolved as it was, Mitchell contributed to broader conversations about mental health and trauma, particularly among Black professionals who often feel pressure to maintain a facade of invulnerability. Her testimony sparked dialogue about the intersection of personal history, trauma, and public life. It created space for others to seek support and understanding. It transformed a painful personal experience into a catalyst for collective healing. This is the alchemy that Nicole Bowe described in our interview: the possibility of taking your wounds and, instead of hiding them, using them as the foundation for work that heals not just yourself, but others. It's important to note that this transformation isn't instantaneous. It doesn't happen in a moment of revelation. It happens gradually through the daily choice to confront your trauma, rather than avoid it, to work through it rather than around it, to share it rather than hide it. And here's where I want to challenge you. What would change if you stopped waiting to be fully healed before moving forward? What might be possible if you embraced the reality that healing is ongoing, that perfection is not the prerequisite for purpose? What if, like Nicole Handy, you built something meaningful while still processing your pain? What if, like Nicole Love Hendrickson, you created spaces for others to feel less alone in their struggles? What if, like Senator Mitchell, you allowed your vulnerability to create connection rather than hiding it out of fear? The journey of healing isn't about reaching some mythical state of perfect wholeness. It's about developing the capacity to carry your experiences differently, to integrate them into your story without allowing them to define your future, to use them as a foundation for connection rather than a cause for isolation. This is what it means to be resilient, not to be unbreakable, but to continue moving forward even with your broken pieces, to recognize that your unfinished healing doesn't disqualify you from creating impact, that your ongoing struggles don't diminish your capacity for leadership. So today I'm asking you to do something radical. I'm asking you to embrace your unfinished healing as a source of power, not shame. To recognize that the very places where you're still tender, still learning, still growing, these are the places from which your most authentic leadership will emerge. I'm asking you to take one step, just one, toward confronting the trauma you've been carrying. Not because you need to hurry up and get over it, but because freedom awaits on the other side of that confrontation. Because your story, shared authentically, might be exactly what someone else needs to feel less alone in their struggle. And I'm asking you to look at the broken places in our world, the systems that perpetuate trauma, the cultures that stigmatize vulnerability, the space that remain closed to those who don't fit a narrow definition of healed or whole, and consider how your unique experience might equip you to create change. Because here's the truth that Nicole Bose's work has illuminated so powerfully. We don't heal the world by waiting until we're perfectly healed ourselves. We heal it by moving forward with our scars still visible, our wounds still tender, our story still unfolding, and using every bit of that unfinished journey to create spaces where others can begin their own. Your unfinished healing isn't your limitation, it's your superpower. It's the source of your empathy, your resilience, your unique perspective on what needs to change in this world. So stop waiting, start moving, start building, start leading, start healing, not just yourself, but the world around you, because that's the ultimate alchemy, transforming personal pain into collective purpose. And it doesn't require your healing journey to be complete, it just requires you to begin.